Yay.
Hey everyone, we're live. Welcome back. It is day 3 of our online digital design conference, and I couldn't be more excited to welcome the super talented, super lovely, my good friend and a wonderful illustrator, Lisa Glanz. Hey Lisa.
Everyone. How's it going?
I think this is going to be such a fun first session today, and I'm really excited for this Wednesday because today is all about illustration and textures and just pure creativity. So we of course have Lisa first session, then we've got the wonderful Denise Love from Two Little Owls and Chris Lauren from Pretty Little Liars, Pretty Little Lines. But honestly, for all you illustrators and creatives out there, today is going to be a really special day, and as I say, I can't think of anyone better to kick it off than Lisa, my co-host as well, of course, for all the Honest Designers fans out there.
Yes, absolutely.
So thank you for doing this, Lisa. And what are you going to be sharing with us today?
Well, what I thought I'd do is kind of just take everyone through a little bit of my process in how I add color to my illustrations in Illustrator. I use Vector. I use Vector in my work all the time, but I use Procreate a lot to achieve that. And I know a lot of people get kind of like confused between the two because the one's raster, the other one's Vector. So I also cheat a little, and I mix raster with it. Obviously, if I don't need to, prepare it for a product where people just want Vector, then, if it's something for a client, then you can actually mix the two. So I want to show how we can do that and actually have some fun. And maybe give some ideas, yeah.
I've always known you're somewhat of a maverick, Lisa, but you're just proving that today. You're thinking outside the box.
I'm sure it's not new to a lot of people, but I'm hoping that just, if I show one or two things, it might trigger something for, people to try it themselves. So, yeah. I'm
super excited. Should we jump straight in?
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, cool. So I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, so maybe I should just quickly explain to everyone, we're going to probably see like a dual screen often, which will be my iPad screen, and it'll be Illustrator screen as well. So I'll try and talk you through as I go. And of course, Tom, you're going to have to jump in and let me know.
I'm going to be your eyes and ears. Don't worry.
Yes, yeah,
it's all good. And please, if you see below this live stream, you can see an Ask a Question feature. So throughout this, if you've got any questions, pop them in there, and we're going to do some dedicated Q&A for about 20 minutes after Lisa's demonstration. So this is your chance to pick Lisa's brain. Any illustration questions, any texturing questions, Procreate, how she gets her hair to look so wonderful, whatever it might be, pop it in the Ask a Question.
Okay, so can you see the bear? Can we see the bear?
We can see the bear, yes. He looks very adorable.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually show you how I would tackle applying a color to that. And the first thing I always do, and it's not something that you have to have, I actually use AstroPad. I don't know if you're familiar with that, Tom. Have you heard of that?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Okay, so we basically, I'm sharing my computer screen onto my iPad, and that allows me to kind of have more flexibility in how I actually draw in Illustrator, and it also allows me to take screenshots much easier. So because I'm just going to bring it up on my iPad, because I see Illustrator on my iPad, I'm literally just going to take a screenshot of that. Okay, and then we're going to hop over to my, going to Procreate. If we can
I still remember you before Procreate.
Oh, yeah?
By the way, Lisa, I remember when you were much more analog with that.
No,
it's been really cool to see your work evolve into like more of this side of things.
Yeah, I still actually use a lot of that, but these days Procreate is a lot easier. Okay, so we're going to create a new document. I just have a standard size that I like to use, which is 300 mils by 300. It's a 300 DPI doc, so it is a high resolution. And then we're just going to import that image that we just taken. Oops, that is not it. If it would snappy it up. Okay. All right. I don't want to use too many sort of bought brushes at this point because I know not everybody has them. So I'm just going to stick with, sorry, I just got to dab my nose. I've just got to stick with the default brushes of Procreate. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer. And I'm going to choose Jasinski ink, which is one of the default brushes. And I'm just going to choose a dark color. And I'm going to go ahead and literally, on a new layer, fill in his body. And you can be really rough and ready at this point. It doesn't have to be perfect. And actually, the idea is to not be perfect, to give it that sort of hand-drawn look. We're not going to worry about his little jacket yet. I'm trying to go fairly fast so we don't waste too much time.
Oh, don't worry. I mean, to be honest, I love this insight already because so many people that we've seen do that thing where you just do a clean fill of a shape. So we're already getting a bit of insight into your workflow and how it might be different. I mean, that's pretty rapid, Lisa. I'm not going to lie.
Really?
that would take me ages.
Okay, so you can see I'm not even worried about being neat because I'm going to show you a little trick in Illustrator. Okay, the next thing we want to do is actually add some interest to that. So we're going to add another layer. So I've got a little bit of a runny nose. I'm going to choose another brush that's kind of common to like a default brush, which is the charcoal block. No, the artist crayon. Let's go with that one. Again, I'm using a dark color. That's quite important. And I'll tell you why later. And now we're just literally going to add some grungy bits. And I'm sticking to kind of one side because we're going to mimic, if you can imagine, like the light falling onto the little bear.
Mm-hmm. Has this bear got a name? I feel like we need to name him, or should we take suggestions in the comments?
Yes. Okay, let's take some suggestions.
Okay, whilst Lisa is shading away here, let us know in the comments, what do you think this lovely bear should be called? Benjamin, our team were the first to answer there.
Love that.
Benjamin the bear. Larry.
It does look like a Larry.
Ben the bear. Doug. Doug's quite good.
Yeah.
Banjo, Paul says.
All right, so we've got those two layers. I'm going to now bring it back into Illustrator at this point. Okay, so we're going to share it. I'm choosing PSD because I want to actually keep all those layers separately.
Perfect. Jenna says Bernard.
Sweet. Okay, let me see if I can go and find it. Sorry,
I haven't actually used it's okay. I haven't used AstroPad myself. Like, I'm aware of it, but it does look like a really, really good tool.
Yeah, it's pretty nifty. Okay, so we are going to right click, which is option click on a control click on a Mac, and we're going to choose our Illustrator. And now it's going to ask us, do we want to convert, how do you want to actually deal with that PSD file? We're going to convert the layers to objects because we actually want to keep each layer separately. And click OK. And if we open our layers panel, you'll see all the layers that we had in Procreate come up. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and select the layer with the actual full color of the bear. And I'm going to come over to my image trace. Sometimes it doesn't recognize it. There we go. Okay, so I have a whole bunch of pre-saved ones that I use a lot that are settings that I like to use. So I'm going to start off with them, but I'll just take you through those settings that I actually use. And if we just click advanced. Okay, so the important thing is I want to ignore the white because I don't want to ever kind of trace the white areas of the actual bear. I mean, of any objects that we have, because it's not important to us.
Yeah.
And the threshold, this is where you're going to get your grungy effect. So if you bring it down, it's obviously going to pick up less and less of that dark color. So you can decide, you can see, start seeing, I'm pointing at the screen, which is not helpful at all, but you can see little bits are starting to show through. So it's entirely up to you how grungy you want that. And And our paths are quite tight because we want to pick up all those little edges. If I zoom in, you'll see all those little kind of brush strokes that we had. And we have fairly high corners, I'd say just over the halfway mark. And we want a lot of noise because we want to actually pick up every little bit and bob that's, that we've created in Procreate. So I'm just going to take the threshold up a little bit more.
So the noise should be low?
Yeah, so the lower the number, the more it's going to pick up.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, so I think I'm going to go for about 100, and then I'm going to expand that. Just want to turn that off so I don't confuse myself. And then we're going to actually trace this sort of grungy layer that we created. I'm going to select that. Choose my pencil. And I actually push up the threshold a bit more. Yeah, I think that looks good. Expand that. And now I'm going to copy those two and bring it into my working doc. But first, I want to create a new layer. I do recommend working in layers and be quite pedantic about that because it's much easier to deal with, coloring shapes and dealing with all the different objects. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer and call it color. And I'm going to paste that. And bring him into, okay, you can see he's obviously slightly bigger. So I'm just going to bring it down. First, I'm going to lock this layer. Things are very quiet. Is this making sense, Tom?
Yeah, I'll tell you what it is. Whenever I watch someone this good work, I get really mesmerized. So
really?
Trust me, it's really cool. And I think everyone in the comments is the same. We've got a lot of people joining now still, just saying they're so happy to join live and they just really love your workflow.
Great. I'm just going to make a darker color. Okay, so we've gone ahead and selected a cream for the bear. And now you're going to see, okay, well, let me just apply the color to this little grungy bit as well because it's off-putting. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to pick a pinky color at this point and actually bring down the transparency a little, but I'm going to first put it onto multiply. And that'll just pick up, the reason why I'm doing that is just picking up the cream underneath it so it like blends much better with it. And bring it down to about 50. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so remember I said to you, it doesn't really matter how neat you are in Procreate because there's a kind of trick that I use all the time. Yeah. So we're going to use the warp tool, which is Shift R on your keyboard. And I'm just going to hit enter to bring up the actual options. And this is a very important thing. We want to take off the detail and the simplify because we actually want to retain all those like little nodes and, points that actually created in the shape. And I'm just holding down my Option and Shift just to bring the brush size down. And you'll see there, that was really untidy. So we're just going to go in.
This is where the magic happens.
And it doesn't even have to, again, doesn't have to be perfect because, that's the whole charm of making it look sort of hand-drawn and grungy.
But it just gives you that element of control over it.
Yeah. So if you really don't like a particular area that you went a little too crazy on or got too lazy, like I did. and the nice thing about this tool, I mean, I literally use it so much, is that you can really go tiny and like pull out, like little bits and bobs to really stretch like small points. Yeah. Or the beauty is, you can go really massive and control bigger areas. So it's, it's brilliant. Okay, so
I didn't even know that existed, Lisa.
Really?
In that format, yeah.
Yeah, I live in that tool, I must say. Okay, so I'm going to show you another technique that just to work with the jacket. It's something that I do a lot in Procreate as well. So I'm going to go over to Procreate again. Let's just open that up. Okay, so we're going to go and
this is such an insight into your packs, because obviously you've got thousands of creators and illustrations that you've made, and you must have gone through a similar process with all of them, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's right. So each element would have been in this, in a creator's situation, for example, I would have actually drawn the jacket separately to the bear so that I could control that better and have that on a separate layer, because at the moment it's all in one shape. So, okay. We're going to actually now work on the jacket, but we don't need anything because we're just going to use the artist crayon, and I always laugh at my techniques because they're like really as if a child did it. There's nothing fancy about it. So yeah,
I love that though. I think it translates to a really organic and illustration.
Yeah, so maybe I'm giving insights into how scrappy my work really is. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so we're just gonna, again, I use the artist crayon. I made a little square. And this time we don't need to bring it as a PSD. We're just going to use JPEG.
Oh, I like your avatar there. Is that Sleepy Lisa?
Yeah.
It's like autumnal.
And let's bring that in. Okay, so we're just going to literally grab it, drag, and drop. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to image trace. I think that looks quite nice and grungy, because the idea at this point, we want like little grungy bits, because we want to layer this, and we're going to have a different color underneath this actual texture.
Right.
So I'm going to go ahead and expand that. Okay, so at this point, you've got two options. You can leave it as is and then literally just create a clipping mask and use it, within that clipping mask. Or you can do what I often do to cheat, which is, well, it's not really a cheat. It's kind of like a time saver. I create a pattern out of this, because then what I do is I use it over and over and like recolor it over and over for other things. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that. So with that selected, we're going to go make pattern. So it's object pattern make.
I thought you were going to do this. And what I love is anyone can do this. And it's like snowflakes. It's going to be completely unique each time.
Exactly. And
like,
the beauty
you can literally
is,
just sketch your own texture.
That's right. And the beauty is, like, you can, with a pattern, you can, because you can move it around, within your shape, it's never going to look the same. So we're going to use a half drop. The reason I'm doing that, because we want to hide that repeat as much as we can. And then I'm just going to change the size of the actual repeat block just to bring in. Yeah, the other thing to note, obviously the higher the texture, the more, the slower Illustrator is going to get. So there's kind of like a fine balance. That looks good to me. So I'm going to press done. And come over to my swatches panel, and it should be there. Yes, there it is. Okay. I'm going to I'm wondering how much I can actually, how much time we got. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to show you exactly what I do, because it might actually spark an idea for, for somebody else in their workflow. Okay, so I'm going to bring it out, the actual pattern. I'm going to double click to go into isolation mode. And then we want to grab that bounding box. And we want to bring it to the front. Sorry. Okay, first I'm going to make a compound path of all these textures, because I want to eventually clip this. So to do that, I've got a shortcut, so I have to think about it the long way around now. We're going to, yes, okay, so under Pathfinder, you're going to make a compound shape. It might take a while.
Yeah, we're putting Illustrator through its paces now.
This is my usual day-to-day work sort of thing, where I just watch this little thing go round and round.
So much of this is looking familiar, though, and I'm sure it will be to many fans of your products who've tuned in live. Just to actually see how this stuff's constructed is super interesting to me, because We just get to work with the end results normally. You know, we get to implement a Lisa Glanz texture or whatever, and it's like, here's how you've made some of them.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, guys. Maybe this wasn't the best idea to do this.
Mm-hmm. I can see, by the way, nothing to do with you, Lisa, but there's a couple of people who are having audio and video issues. I would either refresh, and that normally works, or if you click on audio and video help link in the bottom left corner of the stream, then you should be able to resolve things. We appreciate your patience, though. This is the nature of live streaming. It's never like 100% smooth, but you should be able to get nearly all of it, we hope.
Okay, so we've made a compound path, and I'm now going to create a mask, which is Command 7 on my keyboard. It's going to give you a whole story about how complex it is, which we know. Oh, okay. Illustrator's probably having a little issue. Okay, and now we want to trim it. Again, this is probably not the best. Trim or crop. Sorry, I have shortcuts for all of these actions, so I don't even know the long process, the long way around. But
that's the way it should be, though, right?
I know. I hope everybody else has shortcuts for their work that they do over and over, because it saves a lot of time.
What are some of the main contenders for you?
Yeah, so that I actually have, removing points as a shortcut. I have things like creating compound paths and creating, cropping and clipping things. Those are shortcuts that I use a lot. Okay, so you'll see now in your in the swatches, you'll see that it's not recognizing it as one color, and that's what we want. We want one color. So we're going to go into it, and I'm going to use the magic wand to select the black, and then I'm going to inverse, because we want to now pick up all the stuff that we don't want and delete it, and select it again, and you'll see it's only recognizing one color, which is exactly what we want. Now we can recolor to our heart's content without having to worry. And now, of course, it's a seamless pattern, so I can literally drag and drop and ready for use.
I feel like we just saw some ninja trickery going on.
Was that too fast? I mean, was that okay?
Well, that's the beauty of replays. People can go back through it at their own pace, but yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to just quickly draw a shape for his jacket.
Are we going that kind of mustard color for the jacket?
Yeah. Then I'm going to show you. First, we need to get rid of this guy.
I can see some familiar faces in the comments as well. We've got several children's book illustrators.
Really?
Joining us live as well, Lisa. Yeah. Very cool, right? I feel like a lot of notes are going to get taken by them.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hope I'm giving them something they can use.
Oh, 100%.
Okay, so we are now first going to choose a sort of lighter color. I'm going to copy and paste in front, and then actually fill it with that pattern texture that we just created. And just resize it slightly. Make sure that you choose, just get rid of that. Make sure that you don't have transform objects, because we don't want to transform the whole object. We just want to transform the pattern. So I'm going to click that off and preview it. Oops. Okay. Oh, maybe we should go up.
Trial and error, right?
Yep. And I'm just going to move it around. So with holding down A on my keyboard, just to bring up the direct select tool, and then the tilde, I don't even know how to pronounce that. That little squiggly thing on your keyboard.
I don't know what you call it.
You're just going to hold it down and literally move the pattern. There we go. Around. You can do the same for rotate. If you click R on your keyboard and you hold the tilde down, you can literally rotate the pattern within the shape as well. Okay, nice. So I'm happy with that. And the beauty of that is because I know we're running out of time. So if I had to, I want to show you the versatility of that actual pattern you just went to the trouble of creating. So if
apparently the squiggly thing is called a tilde.
Tilde. Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, so what we can do is you can use that same texture pattern for a tree, for example, and literally head over to your recolor artwork and actually I'm going to choose something from my. Are you following along, or should I be explaining more?
No, definitely following.
Okay,
again, I keep getting mesmerized, Lisa. People are saying in the comments it's quite like meditative.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a tree pattern and a little jacket pattern. And the next thing I want to quickly show you is, gosh, there's actually a lot I want to show you. I'm trying to think what would be most beneficial. How about a raster with this? Okay.
Yeah,
so
that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
we've definitely got like 5 minutes more, and then we can do quick fire on the Q&A.
So I'm back in Procreate and just choosing a standard brush. Again, we're making a pattern, in case you're wondering. It doesn't have to be perfect as usual. And then I'm going to choose a sort of a grungy brush and slightly lighter color.
Just a little bit lighter, yeah.
Yeah. And
this looks like a really cool skin texture.
Yeah, because the idea is to create like kind of variation, so it doesn't look like this flat color.
Well,
so
think of the original painting masters. How many layers of paint they used to build up
precisely. So you just want to kind of play around with tone and variation at this point. And we're going to turn off everything so it ends up being on a transparent background, and we're going to export it as a PNG. And I'm still thinking about it.
For anyone who plans on watching the replay back, by the way, we are, of course, going to share it on our YouTube channel, which is Design Cuts on YouTube. And then we're going to be posting that within our Learn section, where there is an absolute treasure trove worth of similar resources and lessons and incredible guests. I think, Lisa, you've joined us before as well on our Hangouts, and you can find all of that good stuff in there.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to quickly crop, and it's going to ask you if you want to embed it, because yes, you do. Again, we're going to come over to the pattern tool and do exactly the same as what we did previously. That looks pretty good. I'm just going to bring this down. And now we can fill that whole area with a kind of like a texture pattern.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that looks more organic, you know. And again, the beauty of this in Illustrator, you don't have to leave Illustrator to recolor it. You can literally come over to edit colors, and then just adjust the colors that way. I'll just show you that quickly. And it's not doing it. Why not?
Good old Illustrator.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, that is a way to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I can continue and show you other kind of quirky things that I add to the illustration. I don't know if you want to do that, Tom, or if you want to hop into the questions, if there are any.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to do a poll. So I've just added a poll. You can see it directly below this live session. Would you like to see more of the demonstration, or would you like us to jump into Q&A and try and answer as many of your questions as we can? This is the beauty of the live format.
They can determine what to do. Yay.
They can. Okay, we are seeing more demonstration winning by quite some considerable margin.
Okay.
Like 94%.
Well,
97%.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll continue. And yeah,
we'll definitely do some Q&A, but we're add more time for the demonstration, I think. Yeah, because people are loving these techniques, Lisa. So let's go with them.
Okay. So so the next thing what we could do is we can do some quirky little bits to the scene. So I'm back in Procreate, and I've chosen the 6B pencil. That's my favorite pencil go-to, in case anybody wants to know. I live on that pencil. Okay, so we are literally, oops, we need a new layer. Going to create little trees. And the thing with this kind of technique, it's kind of like the rougher and quirkier it is, the cuter. So don't be too precious.
I love watching this process. Guys, if you joined us on these live calls before, you know that I do love a poll. So while we're watching, I've just put up a second one asking, do you listen to the Honest Designers Show, which is the podcast that Lisa and I do along with Dustin Lee and Ian Barnard once a week, every single Wednesday. And we basically just talk about very transparently, very honestly, what it's like to be a designer, all the trials and tribulations and stuff that we go through, and try and share as much as we can. Oh, look at that. We've got loads of people that listen to the show.
Yay.
Cool, Lisa. Basically, we're mean to Lisa sometimes, but she gives as good as she gets.
Sure. Nice cover up there. Okay, so I've created kind of like, just quickly, look, it's not the best clouds on earth, but I just want to show you how you can quickly create, all these little quirky things without too much effort. And going back to the 6B pencil. And this is just a little bit of fur that can also be rain. And I'll show you how to do that. And then going back to our guy.
It's so quick, but it really already has so much character. How do you do that, Lisa?
Well, I have to be honest, I'm really rushing now, so it is a bit rough and ready, but I hope people can see that you don't really have to be too perfect, I think people get stuck on that. Because we're just quickly doing a little bit of, that's the wrong brush, it looks terrible. We quickly just doing a little bit of shadow under him. Okay. I'm just gonna, it doesn't really matter if it's a PNG or JPEG at this point. And one more thing. We need a bit of landscape. Oh, I keep doing that. Sorry, guys. You might be wondering what on earth.
I actually really like this kind of stuff. I just, honestly, I could look at it all day. This is the stuff we geek out at Design Cuts, where it's like, ooh, like pretty markings and textures.
Yeah, it's, you know what it is? I've kind of like found ways to fast track some of my process and not get precious about stuff. Okay.
The best way, right?
Yep. Okay.
Mia says, it looks quite perfect to me, and I just love the roughness and beautiful textures.
Oh, that's so sweet. Okay, so we're going to bring that in. Let's start with the shadow.
Sarah says, I'm glad I found a fellow geek tribe who love textures and patterns. That's the Design Cuts community for you, Sarah. we're all as bad as each other.
Okay, so I'm tracing again. I'm sure by now you can see why I have that preset, because it's like something I use all the time. So if I can give you a tip, definitely create several that kind of like save you time. I mean, I have a few that are less grungy, stuff that is like super grungy, stuff that's like ink line with detail, stuff that's smooth line with detail, so yeah, create your own presets just to save yourself some time. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead, and you see Illustrator starting to slow down now because there's a whole bunch of stuff going on.
How did this work when you put together the magical scene creator? Because that was way busier than this.
Yeah, it's quite a challenge. I had to find a balance between, detail and actually having the document work. Okay, so with shadow, generally it's on the cooler side, but the nice thing about shadow, you can actually really play with color. So I'm going to stick to the cooler side, and we're going to change the transparency to multiply and bring it down to 20. And now we actually have some shadow under the bear. So we just want to bring it to the back. And
Lisa, we've got people in the comments requesting that you just screen capture what you do on your computer every day and just sell that.
Really? Oh, that's so funny. But it won't make sense. And then you also see how actually I'm quite a messy, rough and ready.
No, I think people love that insight. You would mainly just see her writing really mean emails to me and Dustin and Ian, right?
Sure.
After we do a podcast.
Well, at least I know Dustin won't reply, so it's okay.
Touche.
Okay, so when you have this kind of situation, it's like when I teach my Skillshare class, I also remind people you actually want to. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on the same doc. So if you want different settings for the same thing, all you do is just copy, make a copy of it, and then you can work on. So for example, here I'm going to work on just the clouds and the trees. And I just want to bring it up a dash. Oh, wrong one. Hello. Yeah. So that setting is actually good for those bits, but it's too much, I think, for the trees. So I'm just going to go ahead and expand that, and I'm quickly going to make a compound path from these shapes that I want. Okay, so I'm just doing a shortcut every time to do that. Okay, so in this one, I want the threshold a lot lower. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, so we're gonna make a pattern. I'm sure by now you guess that I really love patterns. We're gonna make a pattern out of this guy.
Lisa, are you happy if we do Q&A in like 2, 3, 4 minutes, something like that?
Yes.
What I'm going to do is we're going to go as long as we possibly can, because even though we have Denise's session next, I want to take this as long as we can so we can try and pack as much in.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so what I just made there was a pattern, a fur pattern, essentially. So what we're going to do is make sure we're on the right layer. And we're just going to, oh, you see now I don't have my Astro pad. My drawing skills on a mouse are not the greatest.
I don't think anyone's are. Yeah, I remember trying to do digital painting back in the day with my mouse. Not a good idea.
Oh, it's terrible. And I don't know, some people actually are pretty good at using their.
Did you see the person that repainted the Mona Lisa in Microsoft Paint, and it was identical?
What? Are you serious?
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay,
so that obviously we can recolor that pattern to suit the bear, but I just want to show you how I could use it.
Oh, it's got a little furry thumb.
Yeah. And if we took these clouds and pop them on, we could do the same thing. Use the same pattern for a bit of rain.
Oh, no way.
Obviously not that color, but you get the idea. And I'm just going to bring in some trees.
I want to live in your world, Lisa. It's delightful.
And then another quick cheat, just going to get rid of that rain, is so we created a really rough shape that would be perfect for a tree. And that same shape you can use for his nose.
Oh.
And again, you can use the warp tool just to adjust it slightly.
And that's just a time saver, really.
Yeah. And so you haven't compromised on that kind of textured look, but you've basically saved yourself making another shape or you know, adding color in a different way.
I have to ask, is Bernard here going to make it into a pack?
I don't know. I haven't thought about that. I could do that.
I think he should. He seems to be quite a popular fellow.
I could definitely do that. Okay, awesome. So yeah, should
that was amazing. Yeah, I think we should, because I definitely want to try and get around some people. So if you're able to stop screen sharing, and then we can welcome you back.
There we
go. Hello. That was amazing. I mean, you've been getting so much love in the comments, but guys, let's give it up. Give it up for Lisa in the comments, because that was helpful. That was value packed. And definitely do watch it back for the replay, because there was an awful lot of detail there.
Yeah, sorry.
No. I mean, that is your workflow and it's so useful, but I think people should watch it back. They can put it on like 0.5 speed and take notes and that kind of thing. So Q&A, because we have so many, and I'd love to get through as many as we can, we probably have like 8 or 9 minutes before we need to line up the next session with Denise Love. So I know it's really hard because the two of us could talk forever. Are you okay, if possible, trying to give like a 1 or 2 sentence answer and we do quick fire?
Yes. Just tell me when to shut up and we'll move on to the next.
I always do.
Okay, good.
Okay, so running these programs, do I need a powerful computer? Can you recommend something? Because she's got Black Friday in mind.
I think you just need something that can handle a fairly large, complex file. So, sorry, I'm not very technical, but what I can tell you is that what I do when I start working in files that you just saw me work in, I quit everything I don't need. And then I literally just have Illustrator open and an AstroPad and, all the things that I need for that particular project. That's where I know for sure that, my computer is using all its energy on just the one thing.
Love it. Yeah. By the way, everyone who's watching live, if you click on the ask a question, you'll see we've got 28 questions in there. Scroll through, and if you like a question and would like to see us answer it, upvote it, and the top voted ones go to the top, and I can get to them faster. Gargi says, what is the difference between a painting and an illustration?
Gosh.
Yeah, that's quite a tough question.
Okay, well, as far as I know, my understanding is a painting is actually using actual paint. And these days, digital painting is also qualifying as a painting. An illustration, I'd say, is probably more of I don't know, it's like mixed media, I guess, using, ink and pencil and... Yeah, sorry, I actually don't know the answer to that one.
No, I think that's a solid answer. So this is definitely the most popular question. Jamie asks, do you have a favorite brush collection, or do you mainly work using the default brushes inside Procreate?
Trick question. Okay, I use 3 default brushes every day. That's the 6B pencil, the Jasinski ink, and the shell brush. Those are my go-to for a bunch of stuff. Then I've got a couple of brush sets that I use quite regularly, and this is not a plug, I promise, but if you go to Design Cuts, I can't even remember the address, I've actually got like a little landing page that shows you all the brushes that I use in addition to those. Tom, would you know what that is, that landing page?
Hopefully the team watching. Do you mean like a blog article or one of your product pages?
I
know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
I will let the team who are watching us coordinate that. That is your recommended mini bundle of all the brushes that you use. So let's move on to the next question, and I will wait for the team to link that up if they can ask around and find the right link. But we basically put together a 50% off on the 5 brushes that Lisa uses the most in her work. So if that's what you guys are looking for. So can you also create a pattern in Procreate? Because I only use Procreate, Brenda asks.
You definitely can create a pattern in Procreate. I haven't done it yet because I use Illustrator all the time, but I know there's loads of classes on Skillshare that show you how to do that. So yes, the answer is you can, definitely.
Love it. Nicole asks, how long have you been an illustrator? Did you go to school for it? And have you got any advice for people starting out to try and get a successful career? I like that you packed in 3 questions there, Nicole.
Yes.
So I'll take it one at a time. How long have you been an illustrator?
Okay, full-time illustrator, probably about 4 or 5 years, I'd say.
Okay.
No, I didn't go to school. No.
Yep. Okay.
And any advice? It depends on how far you are in finding your style.
I think this says for illustrators starting out. What's your advice?
Okay, so if you haven't found your style yet, I would say that's quite a priority on your list, because clients come to a particular person for that particular style. They want to recognize your work, just by looking at it. So that's a priority. And then obviously, don't be shy. Like, put yourself out there, phone people that you want to work with, get a really good portfolio together. Only put your best work in, even if it's only 10 pieces, is fine. And just kind of like prod the industry and see what fits. And because your first approach may not be where you will always work, but you might eventually do editorial illustration and start out as a pattern designer, or swap, vice versa. So try it all.
Love it.
Difficult to answer that so quickly.
Linda asks, did you do the drawing of the bear in Illustrator? Like the original drawing?
No. I never, ever, weirdly, draw like the outline in Illustrator. Everything's always either done on paper and then scanned, or Procreate and brought in to trace.
Perfect. Why create the textures in Procreate? Are the brushes more natural than in Photoshop? Tammy asks.
There's actually no reason other than I am not very good at Photoshop, but I am way more comfortable in Procreate. Way, way more.
There's a good reason. Paul Hallam, I don't know if you know Paul, Lisa.
Yes. Paul.
Amazing children's illustrator. So shout out to Paul. Paul asks, hi, Lisa. I love this technique. I was wondering if you have any suggestions about doing this with complex illustrations with multiple characters and background elements. Because of the multiple path points, it makes it a complex file. And I worry about Illustrator having a tantrum. And I think we've both seen Paul's work. He does do quite elaborate pieces. So how could he get around that?
Well, okay, there's 2 ways you can do that. You can cheat by not applying texture to everything. Which is what I've done in the past. It is quite successful. You can have kind of a very simple shape on the background and then actually just apply texture touches. So there's that way around it. The other way is creating your characters individually, and then if you need to bring them in all into one scene, you might have to consider rasterizing that character to bring him in. I know it's like a no, but if you actually are freaking out about the size, then that is a workaround. And then of course, you can always simplify paths. If you go to Object Simplify, you can actually bring the path count down quite a lot, and that does help hugely with Illustrator having to work too hard. Yeah,
great answer. We also have a question saying, any tips or tricks on how you organize your incredible wealth of assets that you work with? And then it says in brackets, my head spins.
Okay, so I have a system depending on what the project is. I've got like a system of naming and coding my product files, and I have a coding system for my patterns, same for my illustrations. So they each have their own set of coding sort of numbers. And I've given them a preface. So it's like for my products, it's like it's P. Sorry, not P. I actually use CM. And for my surface pattern, it's SP. And for illustration, it's just I. So you at least have that as you're already telling yourself what it is. And then I have a code for each product or thing that I've created. I also use, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Dropbox Paper. If you're not familiar with that and you actually have a Dropbox, go and have a look, because it allows you to drag and drop little screenshots of your thing, and you can create like columns and name them and give a description, date it, whatever. It's really cool, handy.
Amazing. And we also have another question from Jay saying, "Hi Lisa, I wanted to know if I don't have Procreate, she actually has the Adobe suite instead. Can I use all these tips in Illustrator and Photoshop instead?"
Yes, 100%. Okay. Yeah. And you can even create them by hand. You don't even have to do it digitally. I used to do that, in fact, Tom, because you mentioned that.
Yeah.
I used to literally create everything by hand and scan it in. So you don't even need Photoshop if you don't have Photoshop.
Amazing. I can see we finally got a hold of this link as well. So if you check out the live chat right now, guys, you can see Lisa's mini bundle of Procreate brushes. This is something we put together with her, but basically these are the 5 brushes she uses most regularly in her work. So if you want to use the same brushes as Lisa, the link is in the chat. We had to kind of do some digging to find that. There's so many pages on the website. We were trying to get hold of it. I think that's probably all we have time for, guys. But we would definitely have you back on, Lisa. We of course have we've got our weekly hangouts. I'm thinking about doing some kind of Ask Me Anything sessions as well. So
that's brilliant.
The people that have questions, we can do some dedicated Q&A.
Yeah. That sounds brilliant. Yeah.
Lisa's a regular within the community. So if we didn't get around to your question, guys, please, do come back, and we're definitely going to chat with Lisa again soon. But Lisa, you're the best. That was so good. Thank you.
You're welcome. That was fun. I hope it was helpful to everyone.
It was, honestly. Everyone's been so lovely. Let's give it up for Lisa again in the comments. Angela says, "Tom, you'll have to have Lisa back really soon, please." What do you reckon, Lisa? Can we pressure you live on air?
Yes. Of course, I'd love to.
Amazing.
It's always fun with you, Tom.
Perfect. Well, I will see you, Lisa, next week for podcast recording. But thank you again for doing this. That was such a value-packed session. Thank you to the hundreds of lovely people that tuned in live.
Thank you for joining us. Yeah, that was great. You guys
have been fantastic. And so just before we jump over to the next session, I would say click the shiny green button below the session. If you haven't checked out Lisa's store in our marketplace, it's just incredible. It's all of these wonderful whimsical illustrations, but in packs that you can use regularly in your own work. And they're just stunning. I think you might be our most popular person at Design.
Really?
Honestly, people just love your packs, and quite rightly. So go and check them out, guys. And also, if you haven't yet explored it, do click around the Design Cuts Live 2019 event. We have all kinds of stuff going on. We've got these fantastic sessions happening with experts all week. We've got our best bundles from the last 6 years running. We've got competitions. We're giving away iPad. We've got freebies. We've got so much great stuff. So thank you again, Lisa. You absolute star.
Pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
For everyone who's on live right now, we're going live in a couple of minutes with the awesome Denise Love from Two Little Owls. We're going to be learning all about texture art, and it's going to be such a fun session. So you can see in the chat, we've just popped a link to that next session. I advise every person here right now to jump straight over, and I will see you in a couple of minutes, of course. Bye from us, though.
Bye.
Thanks again, Lisa. Bye.
Pleasure.
Oh, sorry, Lisa. I nearly forgot the most important thing. Of course, check out Lisa's store. Where else can everyone find you online?
Oh, okay. Well, my website, which is lisaglanz.com, my Instagram feed, which is Glanz Graphics, and of course on Design Cuts, people.
Absolutely. And I would say I'm going to focus your screen here, Lisa. But just before we jump off, I advise everyone who's got a smartphone to hand, which, let's face it, is most of us, just quickly film your screen or take a picture. Sorry, Lisa, I had to do it. And tag up Lisa, Glanz Graphics, and at Design Cuts. And if you want to tag me, I'm at Tom Ross Media. And we'd love to see all of you tuning in and enjoying the session and reshare some of you guys. So if you want to take a snapshot, people don't want to see my mug, Lisa.
No,
I can't focus on
man,
it. Shall we pull faces?
Yay. Why not?
Thanks again, Lisa. All right, guys. We'll see you in a minute on the next session.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.